Hello sexual being, welcome to another class, and today we're going to be learning about sexual responsibility. Yeah, I know that for some this is very new and strange. A lot of people don't know what it means to be sexually responsible. Some people have not heard about what it means to be sexually responsible. So today we're going to be diving into that class and be open to a new wealth of knowledge. A positive and considerate approach to sexuality and sexual relationships will lead to loving, healthy, and mutually satisfactory interactions. A positive and considerate approach to sexuality and sexual relationship will lead to loving, healthy, and mutually satisfactory interactions. Moreover, a basic understanding of the basic concepts of sexual rights, sexual responsibilities, and sexual consent is needed if we are to function as responsible individuals in our society. So, yes, yeah, because one of the reasons why we actually do sexuality education is for us to be able to make informed sexual decisions that will benefit you and benefit your neighbor. In other words, benefit society and make the country a sexually sane country, in extension a sexually sane world. So to be responsible individuals in our society, we must have basic understanding of who we are sexually, about sexual rights, about sexual responsibility, and sexual consent. So in today's class, we're going to be teaching about sexual responsibility. And for sexual rights and responsibility to be realized, you need accurate information. You need to be taught what sexuality education means. You need comprehensive sex education. You need to learn. Another thing you also want to do is to have an understanding of what consent means and when to give or not give consent. Another thing you also want to do is when to comply with a sexual activity. Another thing is also when to respect boundaries or demand that your sexual boundaries be respected. And finally, safety, sexual safety. You want to engage in sexual activity. Safe sexual activity. That is what sexual rights and sexual responsibility is all about. Is all about. Now, recently I did a video on sexual rights and APPF declaration. If you've not seen that video, I will advise you to go back and watch that video. The link to that video, it will be in the description box, so just go back and watch that video. You learn about your sexual right, because you are a sexual being and your sexual right is actually an extension of your human rights. People do not know their human rights, as in people do not seek for knowledge, so most people do not know that they have the right to this, right to that, right to every child has the right to sexuality education. And if you look at our society today, you know that most children are not even exposed to that. That right is violated. That right is not being respected. It is not being respected. So your sexual rights are an extension of your human rights. So if you've not seen that video teaching on sexual rights, you want to click the link in the description box and go ahead and listen and engage with it. So just a brief one. What are sexual rights? Examples of sexual rights. You as a sexual being, you have a right to sexual health. You have a right to sexual and reproductive healthcare services. You have a right to sexuality education. You have a right to sexual privacy. You have a right to decide to be sexually active or not. You have that right. You have the right to body integrity and respect. You have the right to choose a sexual partner, and you have a right to consensual sexual relationships. You also have a right to satisfying, safe, and pleasurable sexual life. So you have a right to all this and more. For better understanding, click on the link in my description box to access the class on sexual rights. Being sexually responsible is seen as self-advocating. And quickly, I want you to know that it is not gender specific. You don't say, oh, only the female should be sexually responsible. No, even the guys too should be sexually responsible. Both genders should be sexually responsible. So being sexually responsible as a sexual being is seen as self-advocating through actions that are consistent with personal goals and values, while being aware of consequences that could threaten those goals and values. By now, as a sexual being, you should know your sexual values. In the coming class, I'll be teaching us about sexual goals. But for now, let's stick with sexual values. I'm asking you again, what are your sexual values? because your sexual values actually tell on your sexual behavior. They tell on your sexual thoughts, they tell on your sexual activity. So what are your sexual values? Because being sexually responsible is seen as self-advocating, and everybody in this world should be sexually responsible. You should be responsible for your action. You should be responsible to do the right things. You should be responsible to do things that you know will not put your neighbor in harm's way. As if you don't care about yourself, care about your neighbor. Yes. Like I said, people hate themselves. Like I just realized, and I'm still in shock that people actually hate themselves. So if you hate yourself, at least for the sake of the rest of us in this world, love your neighbor. Love your neighbor. So being sexually responsible is seen as self-advocating through actions that are consistent with personal goals and values while being aware of consequences that could threaten those goals and values. So you want to be really self-aware. You want to have self-knowledge about yourself and everything about your sexuality. So on sexual responsibility, we are going to be looking at 5 different principles. 5 different principles. Number one, a sexual being who is on the journey of sexual responsibility should have the courage to get adequate sexual knowledge. As a sexual being, you should have the courage to learn about comprehensive sex education. Comprehensive sex education is not about condom. No, it is not. It is not. Inadequate sexual knowledge is one of the major reasons we engage in sexual practices without fully understanding the consequences of these behaviors. Inadequate sexual knowledge is one of the reasons why we engage in unhealthy sexual behaviors. Unhealthy sexual behaviors and the impact of making poor decisions where sexual matters are concerned. It is simply because people are not exposed to healthy sexual knowledge. That is one of the reasons why they engage in unhealthy sexual behavior, and they make poor decisions when it comes to sexual activity. Knowledge alone does not actually change risky behaviors, but it can provide the basis for decisions that promote sexual health. Knowledge alone will not do the work, but it is the application of knowledge. It is the application. So even after you've learned about sexual knowledge, you also want to intentionally apply it into your life, because it has a way of promoting sexual health, promoting you as promoting your well-being as a sexual person, helping you not to make unhealthy sexual decisions, helping you to engage in sexual activities that will not put you in the negative side, not put your partner in the negative side. Another thing is also connecting our family values to sexual socialization and sexual behavior. It will interest you to know that most married couples do not even have family vision or mission statements. Neither do they have family goals or value system. People just get together, get married, give birth to children, and just expect those people to just live life as they like. If they are going to get married, because the family is the smallest unit of the country, what you do in your home affects the country at large. What you do in your home affects the country at large. So you want to intentionally build your family. You want to build strong family values, build strong sexual values, pass these things to your children. And this is one of the reasons why we are here. This is one of the reasons why we are here, learning about ourselves so as to be able to pass the right information to our children. Parents need to take a much more active role in discussing any and all sexual topics. Parents, you no longer want to say, my child is not having sex, whereas your child is doing everything that has to do with sex. You no longer want to live in denial. You no longer want to just turn your face and say, oh, I'm not seeing this. You are denying it. You are seeing it. And your child is putting it in your face. But you don't want to take responsibility for that child. And that is actually very, very responsible for you as a parent. So you don't want to say, oh, you will learn about sex in church. The same way parents are interested when their child takes the first step, you also want to be interested in your child's sexual health. Like the first sex information of a child should come from the parents. Teach your child, and as a parent, you don't want to teach your child from the point of pain. You don't want to teach your child from the point of your mistakes. You don't want to teach your child from the point of your sexual fears. That is why we are here, right? That is how we are growing. That is how we are intentionally growing as future parents, so that in the nearest future we will not be that kind of parent that will say, when a man touch you, you will get pregnant. That is insane. That is irresponsibility on our part as parents. You don't want to pass out, you don't want to pass down your fears on your child. You don't want to pass down your sexual insecurity on your child. No, you want to do the work now. You want to heal now, because church will really not do the work. Neither will the school do the work. So it is either you are teaching your child the right information regarding sex, or they are learning it from the society, which is not a balanced nor healthy way to learn about sexual activity, sexual behavior, and all. So as parents, we need to be involved in all aspects of our children's life, gradually letting the children be responsible for themselves. We cannot depend solely on schools and churches to educate our children about human sexuality. No, we can't. No, we can. That is why we need to have family values. We need to have sexual values as a family, so we can teach this to our children. And it doesn't have to come from a place of rules and regulation. It doesn't have to come from a place of fear. It doesn't have to come from a place of hurt or past pain. It doesn't have to come from a place of shame. It doesn't have to come from a place of guilt. It doesn't have to come from a place of unresolved trauma. No, it doesn't have to come from a place of insecurity. Don't project your insecurity on your children. Because you suffer from sexual abuse, you don't want to project that on your children. No. So as a parent, you want to heal. You want to heal, because nobody will raise your child sexually better than you will. So parents, you need to start taking responsibility for your child's sexuality. For your child's sexuality. And I believe for some days now, I've done a good job on teaching on how you can bring your children into their sexuality, and all, starting from the autonomy class. So if you missed that class, go back and read on how you can teach your child about body autonomy and all. Number 3, protecting one another from abuse and exploitation. One principle of sexual responsibility is protecting one another from abuse and exploitation. Children's exposure to any message that would have them believe that they cannot be sexually responsible individuals. Like, and unfortunately, we see this in church. Yeah, most times, what your pastor teaches you about sex is actually on the note of your pastor believing you cannot make sexual decisions for yourself. You are not sexually matured to take responsibility for yourself. You are not sexually matured to make sexual decisions, to control your sexual desires. Yes, most times the kind of messages pastor pass across to their people is on the note of, you cannot make sexual decisions for yourself. You cannot control your sexual desire. So let me just help you. And you should feel insulted by that. It is just another way of him telling you that you are sexually irresponsible. Because the same Bible that tells you to flee also tells you to know how to control your body. Self-control is a fruit of the spirit. Yes. So you should feel insulted when you are just told to flee without teaching you how you can control your sexual desires, how you can steward your sexual desires. You should feel insulted, because that is just a way of telling you that you are sexually responsible, and that is an insult. That is an insult, because you are not an animal. You are a sexual being. You have access to knowledge. You can make decisions for yourself. You can make decisions for yourself. You have everything, every resource you need to learn about comprehensive education. So if at this stage of your life, how old did you say you are again? How old are you again? If at this stage of your life you still cannot make tangible, healthy sexual decisions for yourself, you are simply sexually irresponsible. And if you are always saying, oh, let me flee, it is in fleeing that you will not know about your body autonomy. It is in fleeing that you will not know how to steward your sexual activity. It is in fleeing that you will not know how to steward your sexual desires. It is in fleeing that you will not know how to grow capacity, how to grow tenacity as a sexual being. And for how long are you going to continue fleeing? Oh, ye sexually irresponsible person. For how long are you going to continue fleeing? You are not an animal. Odidi ọmọ nìyẹn. You are a human being. You are a human being that can think. You have brain. You have brain. Use that brain to make sexual decisions for your life. Use that brain to make healthy sexual decisions for yourself. You are not without help. You are not without knowledge. You are not incapacitated, for crying out loud. It is irresponsible for you to leave your sexuality on the hands of other people. It is irresponsible for you to leave your sexuality for people to make decisions for yourself, for you. People are so mentally lazy. People are, oh my God. It is irresponsibility on your part as a sexual being to leave all your sexual decisions on the table of someone else. Because no one knows you better than you know yourself. And the same Bible that says flee also says learn to control your desires. Once again, self-control is a fruit of the Spirit. It is a fruit of the Spirit. You have brain. You have brain. So next time, when your pastor is telling you flee, use your other hand to also teach yourself to grow tenacity as a sexual being. Teach yourself how you can make good sexual decisions for yourself. It is not everyday fleeing. There are days you learn to live life as a sexual being. Learn to live life. Learn to make decisions for yourself. Oh God, go. Number 4 principle of sexual responsibility is valuing our ability to control our own sexual decisions. Okay, just like I said, value your ability. You are not without help. You are not incapacitated. You have a brain. You are not an animal. Value your ability to control your own sexual decisions making. Have that power over yourself. Have that influence over yourself. Sex is everywhere. Sex is everywhere. Sex is accessible. Pornography is accessible. Unhealthy sexual decisions are accessible. Like, it is everywhere. And the pressure to be sexually expressive is often motivated by curiosity. But adolescents are not learning to control their sexuality. We are not learning to control our sexuality. Even people that are saying, I'm waiting to marriage, in all they are waiting, 100% are not learning to steward their sexuality. 100% are not learning to control their sexual desires. Most of them are struggling to wait. And believe me when I say, if you are going to wait, God is not even interested in you struggling to wait. No. You are not without help. Seek knowledge. Seek knowledge. They'll give you milk. Oh yeah, it's time for you to go and be cracking bone. No, you are mentally lazy. You're waiting for what your favorite influencer will see on social media. You're waiting for her to say, or he or her to say, do this, don't do this. Okay, they say I should do this. Like, seriously. You need to learn how to make sexual decisions for yourself. Healthy sexual decisions for yourself. It doesn't make you less of a child of God. Rather, it makes you a brilliant one. It makes you a sexually intelligent one, and God will be proud of you. He will be proud of you. So adolescents should learn how to control their sexuality and protect their reproductive organs in a responsible way. Respect your reproductive organ, respect your penis, respect your vagina, your vulva in a responsible way. Adolescents who do not control their sexuality often continue these patterns as adults. Yeah. Adolescents who do not control their sexuality often continue that pattern as adults. When you do not control yourself growing up, when you become an adult, you will not know how to control yourself. You will not know how to steward your sexuality. You will not. When you are not a coward, you will not know how to steward your sexuality. And you will abuse your sexuality, and you also allow others to abuse your sexuality. Yes. So we need to learn how to control our sexuality and be able to select a partner who will respect us and help us avoid unwanted sexual outcomes. But no, your pastor said block your ears when it comes to sex until you are married. Like, does that really make sense? No, does that make sense? Like I will always say, your pastor is not a certified sex therapist. Seek one. Seek one. So finally, the final principle of sexual responsibility is creating respectful and mutually satisfying relationships that also include sex. So you want to make sure that your sexual relationships are meaningful, they are healthy, they are respectful, and they are mutually satisfying. You do not want to be in a one-sided relationship or because the sex is good. No. You want to make sure that you are respected, you are treated well, and you're also treating your partner well. So it seems like I came off as harsh. I came off as very strict in this class. That is because I'm actually annoyed about the level of ignorance in church regarding sex. Like, it is sickening. It is sickening. So please, if you are seeing this video, do well to share with your church folks. Yes, do well to share with your church folks. People should come and learn. Learn. It is not everyday free. Learn to control your sexual desires. Learn to steward your sexual desires. Because you will live with your body for a very, very long time. And your bodies will do what bodies were created to do. So you need to learn how to control your body. The Bible says that the power that raised up Jesus from the dead is able to quicken our mortal bodies. That power that raised up Jesus from the dead will quicken your mortal body. It will quicken your sexual hormones. It will quicken your sexual organs. Like, you are not without help as a Christian. You are not without help. You are not incapacitated. You are not an animal. You have a brain. You are an intelligent being. Do what intelligent beings do. Don't just allow religion block your head and turn your head upside down. Be sexually intelligent. So we've come to the end of today's class, sexual responsibility. I know you've learned a lot. And I know you'll bring that to your personal life. Till I see you in your next class. Bye-bye.